Today I was looking through the concordance in the back of my Bible, and I saw the words face to face as a category, and I thought, well, that was interesting because in home health, which is the field that I work in, we have a document called the face to face. And I thought, well, what is the Lord showing me on this? And the Lord said, well, explain what a face to face is. So on this document I have in front of me that says physician verification of face to face encounter. And what it has on there is patient's name, the date of birth, the visit or the what we call the encounter with the doctor. Okay. It also talks about the services that the person needs for this encounter, the condition that is being serviced, the validation that the person is homebound, and then the signature and the date of the physician. So the Lord was saying to me, can you relate that to the face-to-face for the kingdom? And I said, well, I'll give it a shot and I'll take a look at that. So one of the requirements on the face-to-face document, and this is a document that is used by Medicare and Medicaid to validate that a person can receive services in the home because they're ill and because they can't come out. So we can send a nurse in or a therapist in to help the person out. So on the face-to-face, the document has to be signed by a certifying physician, and it's a physician who has the privileges to sign on behalf of their facility. So the Lord said to me, well, I'm the physician, aren't I? I said, yes, you are. And he said, but you don't have to come and see me directly. You can see one of the certifying physicians, can't you? I said, well, I'm guessing we can. And he said, because you can see my son, Jesus, and he can certify that he's had an encounter with you. So he can be the certifying physician. I said, well, that sounds good, because he said, look at John 14:9. In there it says, Jesus said to him, have I been with you so long, and yet you have not known me, Philip? He who has seen me has seen the Father. So how can you say, show us the Father? So the Lord was saying to me that, okay, if you've seen Jesus, then you've seen me. So we're going to take that as your certification on this form for you. I said, okay, that sounds good. So he says, well, what are the, what are the services that are necessary for the person on the encounter? Because that's what it says, what home care services are reasonable and necessary for this client. So I said, well, normally a person is looking at skills nursing, they may be looking at physical therapy, occupational therapy, or other things like that. He said, okay, so then in the kingdom, what are the services that are reasonable and necessary? Okay, for home care. I said, well, for the kingdom, people need cleansing of sins. They need deliverance from the devil. Some of them may need healing. There's just a whole host of other things. And he said, that's right. Okay, so on your form too, it says medical conditions that necessitate home care services. So what are some of the conditions that you see people coming in with? Sometimes people may have a wound. They may need assistance with their medications. They may need therapies. And the Lord said to me, well, what are the conditions that are necessitated in the home care services if we were looking at it from a spiritual context? I said, well, people are needing assistance because of sin, because of ill health, because they have committed adultery, because they're murderers. These are all medical conditions that may need to be, taken care of in home care if we're thinking of home care as kingdom care. Okay, so then he said to me, well, what are the clinical findings and deficits that support the need for home care services and validate that the patient is homebound? So in Medicare and Medicaid, people are considered homebound if it's an effort for them to get out, to be able to go out into the community, if they're having trouble getting themselves dressed or just anything like that. It's got to be a tax and effort. So the Lord asked me to look at, well, what would be the deficits that need support from a kingdom perspective, and what would validate that the person or the patient is homebound. So I said, well, I'm looking at homebound as a different type of word. Homebound not as in somebody's been stuck in the home, but homebound as if somebody's going towards the kingdom, so they're heading home. All right, so that's fine. So what I would see in that then is that the patient or the person is confessing their sins, and they're asking Jesus for forgiveness. So this is an indication that they're homebound, right? They're going to the kingdom. It could be that the person is, they're just overall eligible for services that lead them to the kingdom. because they want to receive salvation. So those are my reasons for being homebound for a person. And he said, that makes sense. So then when we look at the form, I'm looking at the document from Medicare, and it says a person has to be confined to the home under the care of a physician. Services are to be established under a plan of care, right? And they have to be intermittent services, and there have to be a need for services, and they have to have a continuing need for some kind of therapy. So I said, okay, so I figure based on my homebound for the kingdom, these things seem to be in place. All right, we've got somebody who's being certified by the physician, which is God, Jesus. They've got service. They have a need for services because they need to have their sins cleansed. They need to have prayer. They need deliverance from the devil. They need support for health. And the conditions are the sin. They're ill. They're adulterers. They're murderers. You name it. There's a whole list in the Bible. They're homeward bound because now they're confessing their sins and they want to be led to the kingdom. The certifying physician is Jesus, who's being assisted by the Holy Spirit to guide people to him. So when they come into the office, the Holy Spirit will show them to Jesus. And the physician's signature is God. The date is whatever encounter the person decides that they want to receive salvation. So the Lord said, that really makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? He said, but one of the things that's different with me is that, unlike with the physician, you have to have seen the person within 90 days of receiving their face-to-face or 30 days after. He said, with me, time is of the essence. We need to have the face-to-face done right away, okay, so that they can receive their salvation and whatever services and assistance they need from the kingdom. He said there's no appointment needed, all right, you can just do walk-in. We do virtual appointments or virtual visits, so it's just a drop-by, or we can do it virtually because you don't have to come in. I can connect you no matter what, all right? And he said one of the things that the face-to-face encounter is, it's a sign-off for long-term care. That's what we're looking at when we sign off. So sometimes it's short, but most times it's for long-term care. And he said, and that's what he's signing off with me for. It's for long-term care. When I sign off on somebody's salvation, they've come and then confessed their sins, it's for long-term care, which is a care which is going to lead you all the way to the kingdom and to the salvation. Okay? So it says, the practice what you guys are coming to is the practice of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. So we are the head of that practice, and we're the ones who are signing off on the documents. And he said, return visits are always welcome. We welcome people to come in anytime they need assistance, they need a prescription refill, they need just any kind of support, just come on by. And he said, we also really welcome referrals. And he says, we have a rewards program in the New Kingdom for people who make referrals. They are recognized. So the Lord said to me, one of the reasons why this is pretty important is because in Isaiah 55:6-7, it says, seek the Lord while he may be found. Call upon him while he is near. Let the wicked forsake his way, and the unrighteous man his thoughts. Let him return to the Lord, and he will have mercy on him, and to our God, for he will abundantly pardon. You see, the Lord's saying, you know what? I'm the physician as well. I am the world's greatest physician. There are no restrictions to how many visits you can have with me. There are no charges for coming to me. I can heal you on the spot. I can heal you when you feel your faith has made you to the point where you are well. I can provide ongoing support and assistance. There is no charge. And I will sign off on your long-term care plan. And it's a plan that will take you all the way through to salvation, where you will be in the kingdom with my dear Son. So that's all I wanted to share with you today.